On this week's Tuesday Talk, we are answering a question directly from one of you guys about, now that we've been full-timing boondocking for a few months, would our choice of length of rig change?
Uh-oh. I'm afraid of what the answer is going to be.
Go ahead. I was just going to say the specific question was, he knows we chose a 30-foot, he's looking at a 25-foot or a 33-foot, and there's the whole trade-off between workspace and space being full-timers versus being able to get into places and ease of towing and stuff like that.
Yes, so to me, the answer really depends on what you want to do. For us, there is no way we would go bigger than 30. In fact, if anything, we would go smaller than 30, without a doubt. We would never consider a rig bigger than this unless we were going to basically confine ourselves to larger campgrounds. Yeah. And even in campgrounds, like the campground we're in now, 30 feet is the max, and we barely fit.
Yeah.
And we're in the Oregon area, and we've turned around on several occasions because we just couldn't bring the Airstream where we wanted to go in some of these boondocking spots because there's so many trees and you have to kind of fit around them. And it's just, the longer your rig, the more difficult it's going to be to find a spot. In general, that's always going to be true.
True. And we like to boondock a lot, obviously, so that's important to us. Mm-hmm. I would say, and we've discussed this, don't worry, we're not getting rid of Charlie anytime soon.
And we're not buying a yurt.
No.
Don't worry, that was in April.
We love Charlie, we love our home, we've lived in it for quite a while. It would be, I think, years before we tried to do anything different.
Yeah, we're not switching out.
But, if we were to do it again, I think the smallest we could get and still have our must-haves would be what we'd go for.
Probably like 25.
25 is probably what we could do. Our must-haves for us are a queen-size bed. That one's a pretty big one.
We need at least a queen. Well, I need at least a queen because I like to spread out a little bit.
It was a big deal to get him to move down from a king to move into the trailer. So getting less than a queen is, at this point in our lives, not something we're going to be doing. I require a bathroom. Definitely a toilet, but also a shower. I could probably deal with a wet bath, but it's preferable not to. And then, obviously a kitchen, but everything comes with a kitchen. So the big other must-have for us is desk space for you.
Yeah, for me, I would enjoy a working area. Yeah. It doesn't have to be as big as what I have now, even though it's great, but I don't need something quite that big. No. I just need a desk, a place for my laptop, and a monitor, maybe my Chromebook, and that doesn't require a lot of space. No. So we can probably make that work in a 25.
Though he would require that it's permanently set up. So I work from the little side table we put up and down all the time with my laptop. That works fine for me. That's not what Steve is looking for. He wants his desk to be where his monitor lives and his laptop lives. Mm-hmm. And
I spend a lot of time there, and I don't want to tear down and set up every single time. Yeah. So a nook or dinette area, it's not ideal.
So we could very easily, space-wise and living-wise, live in 25 feet or smaller. The 30 feet, I mean, I'm normally on the couch, Steve's normally at his desk. During the day, if we're here, like on a rainy day like this, when we can't go outside much,
can't go out and play. Why do we need okay.
So
rain anyway.
I guess the answer is we would go smaller.
We would definitely go smaller. For us.
For us.
My parents full-time RV'd for 13 years, and they had a 42-foot Monaco. So there's nothing wrong with going big, but the spaces that you'll be able to fit will be fewer and far between. You'll probably spend more time in campgrounds or in large areas, especially in the Southwest, where there's just all kinds of space available, where there's no trees, you have to kind of maneuver around. So there's nothing wrong with more space, but that just comes with its own set of drawbacks.
Yes.
And as well as benefits as well.
So if you had asked us this question, and I think we actually did answer this question.
Thank you, Penny.
Thanks, Penny. Come on. So if you had asked this to us when we were living full-time in the Airstream but stationary, we were perfectly happy with our size. 30 foot was perfect for us.
Yeah.
So it's only, there was only once we started moving that we realized that smaller would actually be better.
My number one RV buying tip is to buy, and I'm writing about this on our sister blog right now, in fact, buy as small of a rig as you can. They get better gas mileage. They're easier to maneuver around, to actually tow. They're going to be lighter. You're going to store less stuff, in those rigs. Less to maintain, less to pay for. They're going to be cheaper. And you'll be able to fit in more spots like we've been talking about. So the smaller your rig, the easier your living experience is going to be.
Which is funny because that is the exact opposite of what almost every RV dealer and RV blog I've read has ever said. There are a few that I know who have now said go as small as you can. Less Junk, More Journey talks about it. Where the Russos talks about it. But in general, the number one thing people say when you're going full time is to buy as big as you can afford because you're coming from a house and you don't want to feel cramped in your space. And I think it's really completely, like we said, dependent on who you are.
Yeah.
And what you're doing it for.
And what you want to do, yeah.
And like Nathan and Marissa have said on their channel, Less Junk, More Journey, you're probably not going to get it right the first time.
Yes, don't buy... When you can, don't buy something brand new. Don't spend your life savings on your first rig.
Yeah.
Because I can almost guarantee you it won't be 100% right. You're going to switch it out. It's not going to be your only rig.
Yeah.
So get a feel for what you like, what you like, what you don't like, how you live your life on the road, and we are doing that now.
Yeah.
Because you're probably not going to get it right the first time. It happens to all of us, including us.
Yeah. So, like we said, we're not getting rid of Charlie. We're going to stick in our 30-foot Airstream for the foreseeable future. But if given the option again, we would go smaller.
And maybe even a Class B. We've been...
Not... So we love our Airstream. We've talked about going as small as a Class B for some of the more adventurous trips we want to do in the future.
Especially in international trips down to Mexico and South America and those kinds of adventures.
Yeah, but those are
way in the future.
Way in the future.
Yeah.
So
you'll see us in our Airstream for many years.
Yes, you will. So hopefully that answers the question. It's really dependent on how you want to live. For us, we do perfectly fine in this space full time. In fact, we don't need this much space full time, and so a smaller rig would actually be easier with our lifestyle.
Yeah. All things being equal, go smaller. That's the bottom line when you're living a life on the road. All things being equal, go smaller.
If that's what you want.
Well, that's why I said all things being equal.
If you're like us, go smaller.
You have a 28-foot or 33-foot. You can find yourself living in both spaces. You're probably going to appreciate not hauling around that extra 5 feet all over the place.
That is true. If you like them both the same, go smaller. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's it for this week's Tuesday Talk. Leave us a comment below to talk about if you think we should go smaller. Not that we're going to, but if you think we should, or if you think...
We value your opinions, but they're not going to change our lifestyle. Basically is what we're saying.
Or if you have had this experience where you've gone big and you've gone small and you've changed, because I'm sure it completely depends on what you're doing and your lifestyle at the time. If you have a question for us that you'd like answered in a future Tuesday Talk, please leave that in the comments below as well, because we're always looking for questions. And we will see you next week.
Yep.
Bye, guys.
From a rainy Oregon. See you later.
Bye.